Hello, welcome back to Actor for Real. Today we are going to continue our process for registering for central casting. And today we are going to fill out the forms that central casting requires you to fill out so that you can get approved and start working with central casting as a background actor. And specifically, we are going to fill out the tax form, the federal tax form W-4. So let's just get straight into it. In this next step of filling out a lot of forms, you will need to go through these forms one step at a time. Basically, all of the next step is for you to complete all of these forms and submit them to central casting, which is going to happen one at a time. It's going to have submit form. Let's just see if I can show you how it's done. Yeah, definitely take the time to read all of this. It is important. It definitely has a lot to do with you and your career and your job. Well, you're not working at central casting, but you were being staffed by them. So basically, every time you open a new form, you are going to read it, and then you're going to agree electronically to what you're saying. If you don't agree with something, unfortunately you won't be able to proceed, plain and simple. So I won't be able to work with them. So that is your right to disagree with any of that, but unfortunately they're not going to accept you as somebody who is on their roster. So okay, you just click that and then you submit, and you go through every single one of them. And then see on the bottom it says form successfully submitted, which it was also, it like disappeared from your whole thing. And now the most important thing that I want to show you how to submit is your tax forms. Tax forms are definitely mandatory. All of those forms are mandatory. All the 13 forms that you need to submit registering for central casting, they are all mandatory. Federal tax form W-4 is one of the most complicated ones that you will have to submit over here, and you are going to need to get used to working with this form a lot, which in turn will help you get used to working with that form and filling it out a lot, just by plain repetition. And you will see that it's not very complicated the more you fill it out. And the reason why I'm telling you that you are going to have to work with it a lot is because in this industry, every time you're booked to work on something that pays, unless it's an independent project that doesn't have any kind of bookkeeping, and it's going to pay you by cash or like a Zelle transfer, which is treated as cash, or like Venmo or anything like that, or even a personal check. So unless it's any of those instances, you are going to have to submit some kind of a tax form, which is usually going to be either a W-4 or W-9. Those are two different forms, and if you don't know, W-4 form is a tax form which is required for the companies to have you fill out, because they're going to take the taxes basically out of your paycheck. They're going to send them to IRS on your behalf, and then you will receive the check with the gross amount. Then at the end of the year, or in the beginning of the next year, you are going to receive a W-2 form from that company, which will have a summary of everything that was paid out to you, all of the taxes that were taken out, all of the contributions if you had any, and all that good stuff. W-9 form is a much simpler form, and it is treated as basically an independent contractor employment tax form, to put it in the lamest terms. The difference between the W-4 and W-9 is that the form W-9 employs you to work for that company, but the company is not going to take the taxes out of your net amount that you're going to receive, that they're going to pay you, because as an independent contractor, you are responsible for not sending but paying your own taxes to IRS directly. And that's a whole different topic, but those are the differences. So you're going to receive the full amount if you have filled out the W-9, but if you filled out the W-4 form, you are going to receive the amount which is left after the taxes were paid out on your behalf to IRS. And then when it comes to W-9 form, at the end of the year, in the beginning of the next year, starting January, you are going to receive a 1099 form from that company that employed you for that project. And the reason why you need to get used to, and the reason why I'm saying that you will get used to filling out these forms, the W-4 and W-9, is that every single time you are employed by somebody who has the bookkeeping, who's got the CPAs and all that stuff that are working on their behalf, they have got the payroll companies, or they have a CPA person who does their bookkeeping and basically pays you. They're keeping track of everything, and it's usually going to be a different person or a company. And you're going to fill this out pretty much every time, every day you are on set during the year. And you need to get used to this because this is going to be the case. And if it's not electronic, bring the pen with you because you are going to be filling out a bunch of forms. But with central casting, since it's a bigger staffing agency, you just do it once. And we're going to do this right now, meaning that when you are employed by central casting, when you get to set, you don't fill out those forms because it's usually bigger production companies, studios that you are working with. So everything is electronic and they've got the whole system working electronically on its own. All right, let's get to filling out the W-4 form for central casting Los Angeles. It's going to be the same for New York and Georgia and all that good stuff. Okay, marital status. Question number 1, marital status. And you need to enter this information. Okay, I'm going to select single because I'm not married currently, and well, obviously I'm single, so I'm filing taxes on my own. You need to select married filing jointly. In case you've never done your own taxes, married filing jointly means that you have a spouse and you file your taxes together with your spouse. So you're not filing your taxes as an individual person. You need to select head of household when you have a spouse, but you are not filing your taxes at the same time together as a joint unit with your spouse. Usually that is the case when your spouse does not work, does not have any income. So that's when you select head of household. But since I'm single, since I'm unmarried, I'm going to select single. Also, the case might be where you have a spouse, but you have separate financial, systems for yourself, and you are not sharing money, you're not sharing income and all that good stuff. That's when you select married filing separately. Okay, it's important to say that I'm not a professional CPA. I did not study for it. I don't have any kind of certifications. All of the stuff that I'm sharing with you is stuff that I learned on my own through the personal experience of successfully filing my taxes for the past 9 years. And I'm going to share all of that with you. And the next step, multiple jobs or spouse works, is a confusing question for a lot of people. Now, if you're an actor, you have multiple jobs. There's no going about it. Conventional meaning of that word. So if you're working for a bunch of different companies, you're booked as an actor, background actor for a lot of stuff. Technically, in the conventional sense of that, you have multiple jobs, right? But not in this case. If you are just doing this stuff, your job is being an actor. And being an actor, unfortunately, is not like this office type of a job where you just, you work for one company. You are going to be employed by a lot of companies. But your job as an actor is being an independent contractor. So basically you have your own business is what you have. And that is your job. So all of that comes together into one thing where you are a job type of an actor. That is your job, being an independent contractor, in this case, being an actor. So if you, let's say, are working for a bunch of different gig-based companies like DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, Instacart, you name it, you also have one job, being an independent contractor, being hired for certain jobs through those companies or by those companies, and that's just like one job that you have, but it's just in a different industry, in a different field. Most likely you just need to select the first one, that you have no multiple jobs, because that is just the most simple way to do this. Now keep in mind that all the stuff that you're filling out right now, it is understandable if things change. It is understandable if you register with Central Casting and you fill out this form, and then after a month or two you realize that there's not that many jobs and it's not paying all of your bills, which it won't, you guys, it won't. Unfortunately, amount of background actors available to them, plus the lot of productions right now are just simply not filming, creates this scarcity. So you can't really sustain yourself on just working for background acting for Central Casting. So in that case, after a month or two you realize all this, and then you just go and get yourself a job at a restaurant, and that's okay. You don't need to go back and change any of this. This is when finally the beginning of the next year, that's when it comes through, and that is for IRS to see how your year actually went and what kind of jobs you had and what kind of taxes you owe them. That's all they want to know, basically. So don't worry if you selected something and then things change. It's understandable, and IRS does understand that as well. Now if you have a spouse or you yourself have self-employment income and you are paying to IRS as you go through the year, we'll need to select the second over here. I or my spouse filing jointly have self-employment income. But if you're like me, I still drive for Lyft, so that is self-employment income. Sometimes I get booked on something that has me fill out W-9 forms, which, like I said, taxes are not taken out. That's self-employment, and I am responsible for paying those taxes. Or I am paid by cash. I am responsible for paying taxes that amount. I am not going to select this. I'm still going to select the multiple jobs, the first option on this drop down menu, because I am not paying to IRS throughout the year, and there's a reason for that. And in the beginning of the next year, when I am filing my taxes, that's when I pay my taxes. That's when I submit everything. And so I don't need anything to be taken out from this. If you're in a similar situation, select number, and basically every single one of the next option in this drop down menu, those worksheets that they're talking about are basically having to do with the withholdings, the tax withholdings. So it's the money that goes to IRS. That is also the money that you are distributing to, let's say, your Roth IRA, and you want that to come out of your paycheck, and you just want to make sure you will basically need to set it up directly. So if you're coming into acting from a office job where you had a 401k, you won't be able to transfer your 401k to this industry. The deductions for the future, basically, right, for the retirement, will need to be set up by you separately, and that is when you can fill out those worksheets and withholdings estimators and all that stuff, which is a more complicated question. The majority of you will not need to worry about this right now for sure. So we're just going to go about that. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave comments. I will answer those. I also have my email in the description under this video. So if you have a specific question that you don't want to post in the comments, you can send it to me directly and I will help you the best that I can. Okay, moving on. Step number 3, dependents or other credits. Another complicated question, right? Multiply the number of qualifying children under the age of 17 by 2,000. Not too complicated. You just do the math, and if you don't have any children under the age of 17, you put 0, which I don't. You put it right here. If you have 5 children, you multiply by 2,000, it's going to be $10,000, and that's what you will put over here. These are deductions from your taxes, basically, is what it's trying to set you up for, because when you're filling out the W-4 form, which will have the taxes taken out of your paycheck slowly, they want to make sure that they're doing the math right and deducting the amount of taxes that they're supposed to take out of your paycheck correctly, basically. Okay, and then multiply number of other dependents. Other dependents might be legal dependents. For instance, if you're an immigrant and you petitioned for somebody to get their green card through you because they're a family member, which is usually either a parent, spouse, or your children. There's no brothers, no sisters, nothing like that that can qualify for that. Or if you have a legal dependent who's incapable of taking care of themselves, for whatever the reason, they need a caretaker, which, you know, can be really anybody, but it has to be like a legal dependent. That is when you put that amount over here. I don't have any, so I'll just put 0. And then you do the math, and hopefully it's mathing for you. And yeah, so you just go through this step and do the math, and you put in there. Mine is all zeros. Okay, other adjustments. Let's see. This is an optional step, and I highly recommend not complicating this form for you unless your CPA told you specifically that you do need to put it in there. You really don't. So since it's optional, I assume, well, it has an asterisk to it, so I guess I need to put it right here. But basically, these adjustments is exactly what we were talking about in step number 2 here. All these worksheets is what it is. This is a simplified version of the tax form W4. If you Google, actually, let's do this together. W4 form. It's going to bring up this form for you. See what it looks like? This is a more complicated version of it. It has a lot to, you know, to read through and a lot more stuff to enter in here, but this is basically what it is, and this is the worksheet that we're talking about. And there's a lot of stuff that you need to do, but generally the majority of you guys are not going to need to fill any of this out. For me, when I have to fill this form out with a pen, you know, when I'm physically present and I have that in my hands for either whatever the production has me fill it out, that's usually just, you know, I'll just cross this off because you really don't need to work on this. If you're just an aspiring actor, you're just starting out, chances are you don't really have any complicated things to add to your forms or your tax filing legal process, basically. So, and the step number 4 is exactly what we were talking about over here in step number 2. And you can take a look. So it's other income that you need to include over here, which is like, let's say you were making a lot of money on the side, but it actually does become complicated when you are working as an actor and then you get paid through all these different, I mean, this year I was paid by Zelle, I was paid by cash, I was paid by personal check, I was paid by multiple, a couple of handfuls of companies that I worked for that have an actual payroll company that they're working with that handles all of their payments. I have been paid by Lyft. I also have been paid by this focus group that I did with my dog for the dog food. So again, it's Zelle payments and stuff. So it's like, it becomes complicated. And if there's a chance to not go through this, I implore you not to take it, because you will have to do all of this when you're filing your own taxes or a CPA is filing taxes for you at the end of the year. And right now, it's not necessary to go through all of this. So basically, yeah. Deductions and withholdings is stuff that you want to be taken out of your paycheck for whatever the purpose, which might be also like a health savings account, or you know, your Roth IRA, traditional IRA, or you have some other investment account, or you owe money to the government, like you owe money for taxes, or you owe money for, I'll give you an example. When I got my medical discharge from the Army, a year later, I received a quote from this life insurance company that supposedly said that I owed them, and it was too much for me to look into. I just didn't want to do this, you know. And then they ended up basically taking the money out of my paychecks. So if you know that you owe money to something like this, you can withhold it over here, basically. And it all has to do with the government. Okay, now here's a very important thing, a little trick that not many people know about. is the exemption from basically the full amount of federal taxes to be deducted from your paychecks. This is a little trick. This is a little tip because this will get you more money into your pocket when you get paid, but there is a but. So basically, this is what the exemption is about. The exemption from having the federal taxes taken out of your paycheck is about you not really having any liability, any tax liability. So here's how it works. If you are a common human being who doesn't have a house, who doesn't owe taxes on the house, who doesn't owe taxes on the business, who doesn't owe taxes on the car, or I don't know, something specific like that, who basically doesn't have a huge tax liability, which is going to be a lot of you, and you can claim that exemption. Here's how you can figure out whether you are eligible for an exemption or not. It's very easy. Did you receive a federal tax refund last year? If it's a no, you don't qualify. If you received a tax refund last year, you qualify for it. In case you expect that next year you're also going to receive your tax refund. And how do you know? Well, you know by assessing your tax liability. If you know that you don't owe money to IRS, you're going to receive your tax refund, basically. If you didn't make a lot of money and you were not able to deduct and use a lot of deductions for your business, which being an actor is a business, then you will probably not get your money if you were not able to pay all of your taxes because you hopefully received a $100,000 check for your role in a award-winning movie this year. Hopefully that's the case, but it's all the estimation. And you are allowed to make that estimation right now. So last year, I personally received a tax refund. And then this year, I assume that I'm expecting to not have a huge tax liability, which means that next year I assume I will be receiving my tax refund as well. In this case, I can actually myself claim an exemption. And let me tell you, the regular around 25% that goes out of your paycheck to pay the taxes normally will drop down to about 7 to 9%. And that's a huge difference when it comes to getting paid as an actor. So if you have a possibility, if you qualify for this, then I highly recommend you select that you are exempt. And if you don't qualify, you select that it's not applicable to you. Are you a non-resident alien? This is for my immigrants. If you are a citizen of the United States, you don't need to fill this out. But if you are a immigrant and you don't have a green card, this is when you have to fill this out and be honest. You have to be honest because all of this is traceable and you might get penalized for not filling out this completely or accurately as you're supposed to. So if you are an immigrant and you do not have a green card, or you are not a citizen, naturalized citizen just yet, this is when you select that you are a non-resident alien, and will be a specific section of this that you will need to fill out. But if you're a citizen, don't worry about this. Just put non-applicable or don't even select anything. I think it should allow you to move forward from that. And remember that form that we looked at, the blank one? So basically this simplified version of it does the job for you and fills it out, and then it sends it to IRS on your behalf. So we are going to make sure that everything's correct over here, and we are going to click that we declare that this is, to the best of our knowledge, is correct, and then we're going to submit this. And this completes filling out the W-4 form for the purpose of registering with central casting. But technically, when you fill out those forms, when you get to set, and usually in the morning they give you a bunch of paperwork and it will have a W-4 form. This is exactly the same steps that you are going through, and they usually have it highlighted for you what is absolutely necessary for you to fill out. So don't worry, you don't have to read through a bunch of lines to figure out exactly where to put what, which zeros and ones to put where. You really don't need to. It's very advanced and it's not necessary for the majority of you. If, like I said, if you fall under a similar circumstances like what I have given you examples of, you don't need to fill out any of that. So don't worry. People generally want you to succeed, so they will help you the best that they can. But this is exactly what you need to do. Now, if you are just registering for central casting, all of these steps are what you need to go through, and you need to submit all of these forms for you to get approved with central casting. And so make sure you read through all of them. I'm just trying to make sure if there's any other forms that have to do with taxes that are in there, but let's see if we let's see. Okay, all these labor codes, which I also actually, because the system has changed, the central casting system has changed, like I said, last year over the course of the strike, I actually had to go in and update all of these forms and sign them all over again this year, and I had to go in person, and I had to, you know, do the whole thing. But look, there's another form that we need to fill out. You just go through every step and you just fill it out. It's all very self-explanatory. The main thing is that you have to make sure that all of them are sent. Am I Hispanic? I'm not. Okay, I'm white. Yeah, I'm white. Okay. All right, yeah, so basically, once you go through all of these steps is what you need to do. And then they are saying that once you complete all of these forms, you will need to, okay, well, let me fast forward this thing, right? Okay, we're just going to fast forward through this because I have submitted all these documents and I have read them before. And make sure you read them. Make sure that you do. Make sure that you are familiarized with all of them. Okay. All right, we've got another form, which is a DE form 4 for it's a state Texas form. It's very much simple. It's very much similar to the W-4, which we have already submitted, and it's going to ask very much the same types of questions. So we are going to answer to those exactly same questions, but this is just for the state. Now, if you live in the state which doesn't have state income tax, you won't need to fill this out. You won't have it. So if you're in one of those states and you fill in it out and you're surprised that you're not seeing this, that's the reason why, because you're not going to be paying state taxes in general. Okay, we don't want any money to be withheld. I don't. But again, guys, it's exactly same questions. They're just the state ones. Exemption. Yeah, I claim exemption because I got my tax return, both state and federal, and I am expecting to have the same. All right, this is it. And now we have one release form left. There you have it. Step number 2 of registering for central casting is complete. You have successfully filled out all of the paperwork, all the 13 forms that central casting is requiring for you to fill out, and specifically the text form W4, which you will come across so much. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like it and share it with somebody who can benefit from it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you are new over here. In the next episode, I will be covering how to complete the step number 3 to get completely and fully registered with central casting. And there is a tricky little thing that I will be telling you about. So make sure you are subscribed to my channel. You can also click on the notification bell button so that you get notified once I post the new video. But the episodes come out every Tuesday, so I will see you in the next one. If you have any questions, submit them in the comment section below. Also, if you have any specific questions that you want to submit that are too extensive or you don't want the whole world to know, you can email me, and the email is in the description under this video. I am here to help. I'm happy to answer all of those questions, and I will be looking forward to it. See you in the next one. Bye.